Imagine a moment when everything you've been told about yourself suddenly shatters, when the world sees you as nothing more than a forgotten shadow, but inside, you know you're something more. This is a story about Jack Turner, a man society had written off, labeled as washed up, someone who was supposed to fade into the background. But some people aren't meant to be forgotten. Some stories refuse to be silenced. Picture this: a veteran, a subway, a split second that changes everything. When most would step back, Jack steps forward. When others freeze, he acts. And in that moment, he proves that courage isn't about being perfect, it's about being human. What makes an ordinary person extraordinary? Is it the medals they've earned, or the moments they choose to stand up when no one else will? This isn't just another story about a hero. This is about the hero inside each of us, waiting for that impossible moment. Every scar tells a story. Every struggle holds a lesson. And sometimes the most powerful transformations happen when the world least expects it. If you're tired of predictable stories, if you want to see real human spirit in action, if you believe that one person can make a difference, then this story is for you. The pre-dawn light barely penetrated Jack Turner's small Queens apartment, casting long shadows across his weathered face. His left knee throbbed, an old military companion that never truly left his side, a persistent reminder of battles long past. The clock read 5:45 a.m., another early morning that promised nothing extraordinary yet demanded his presence. Jack moved with the practiced precision of a soldier even years after leaving active service. His worn army jacket bearing the faded staff sergeant patch was more than clothing. It was a second skin, a testament to years of service and sacrifice. He pulled a baseball cap low, covering his graying hair, attempting to blend into the morning's anonymous rhythm. The apartment building was quiet, save for the stale smell of forgotten takeout lingering near the super's door. Jack wrinkled his nose, a small gesture that spoke of his disciplined nature. Nothing escaped his attention, not even a discarded food container. The autumn air nipped at his skin as he stepped outside, sharp and crisp. Each breath was deliberate, a moment of preparation before facing another day of part-time warehouse work. The pay was modest, but Jack understood the value of honest labor. Survival wasn't about glamour, it was about consistency and dignity. At the corner bodega, Jack overheard two teenagers whose casual cruelty cut deeper than they could understand. "Look at the old soldier," one of them snickered. "He looks totally washed up." The words were meant to sting, to diminish. But Jack had survived far worse than teenage mockery. He'd learned in the military that true strength wasn't about confrontation, but about maintaining one's composure. Mr. Holloway, the bodega owner, offered a knowing nod as Jack entered. Their interaction was brief but respectful. Two men who understood the quiet dignity of hard work. A cup of coffee, a few crumpled dollars, a sympathetic glance. No words were needed. Outside, the teenagers' laughter echoed, a soundtrack to Jack's morning. But he kept moving, steady and unbroken. Another day was beginning, and Jack Turner would face it with the same quiet resilience that had carried him through war and its aftermath. The harsh words of the teenagers continued to echo in Jack's mind, a persistent reminder of the invisible battle veterans like him fought daily. He'd learned long ago that explaining himself was futile. The city moved forward, indifferent to the stories carried by those who had served. New York could be both a sanctuary and a battlefield. Jack found solace in the subway's anonymity, a moving mix of humanity where he could blend in, yet always feel slightly apart. The station buzzed with early morning energy, a nurse adjusting her scrubs, an older man lost in his newspaper, construction workers trading jokes in rapid Spanish. Jack positioned himself strategically, back against a chipped column, a habit from years of military training. Always aware, always ready. The overhead lights flickered, a metaphor for his own life, he thought wryly. Survival was about staying steady even when the world around you seemed unstable. "The city's getting colder," remarked a construction worker in a bright neon vest. Jack responded with a simple nod. Yeah, winter was approaching, another season to endure, another challenge to navigate. The train arrived with its familiar screech. Jack chose a seat near the doors. An old instinct. Exit strategies were second nature to him now. As the train rumbled through underground tunnels, he focused on his breathing. Just another day. Just do your job. Midtown welcomed him with its usual chaos, a river of professionals rushing in all directions. Jack moved with the crowd, invisible yet present. His walk to the warehouse was a journey of quiet determination. Kurt, the warehouse manager, greeted him with a perfunctory acknowledgement. Their interaction was brief, professional. A shipment of electronics needed organizing, and Jack was ready. Physical labor was his meditation, his way of processing the world. As he moved crates and scanned shipping labels, Jack found a rhythm. Each box stacked was a small victory, each barcode scanned a moment of purpose. The warehouse became his current mission, replacing the complex operations of his military past with simple, honest work. The physical work usually helped Jack clear his mind, but today, his old war injury had other plans. His knee throbbed mercilessly around 9:30, a constant reminder of past battles. He rubbed the sore spot, thinking about the doctor's advice about physical therapy. Money and time were always short, pushing medical care to the bottom of his priority list. During the electronics shipment, Jack worked methodically, a contrast to Kyle, one of the newer warehouse workers. The young man was all bravado, loudly boasting about his weightlifting achievements to anyone who would listen. Jack had seen his type before. Young, eager to prove something, quick to mock what they didn't understand. When Kyle deliberately bumped into him, the taunt was razor sharp. "Watch it, old man. Don't blow out your back or your knee." Jack's military-trained composure was tested. He swallowed the rising anger, responding with a measured, "I'm all right." But Kyle wasn't finished. His next comment cut deeper. "Don't want you to end up in the VA hospital again, huh?" The implication was clear. Jack was seen as obsolete, a veteran past his prime. Jack's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched. Years of discipline prevented him from responding with the anger burning inside. "No offense," Kyle added, his tone anything but sincere. Jack knew the consequences of losing his temper. This job was his lifeline. Rent, groceries, survival depended on staying professional. He turned away, the insults burning like a slow fire beneath his skin. The rest of the shift passed in a blur of suppressed emotions. Words like washed up and loser echoed in his mind, carrying the same sting he'd felt that morning with the teenagers. By 5 p.m., Jack was emotionally exhausted. He sought refuge in a local diner, sliding into a worn booth. The neon signs and battered menus spoke of countless stories like his. People just trying to get by. Becky, a young waitress with a genuinely cheerful smile, brought him a turkey club and water. Staring out the window, Jack watched the city's rhythm, headlights dancing, pedestrians rushing. The urban landscape mirrored his internal struggle. Was he truly finished? A soldier without a mission? A man without a clear path? A missed call from an unknown number went ignored. Just another potential distraction in a day full of challenges. The subway car was a sardine can of humanity, packed tight with evening commuters. Jack gripped a metal pole, his body instinctively bracing with each lurch and squeal of the train. When seats finally opened up, he settled in, momentarily relieved. But relief was short-lived. 3 teenagers burst into the car, their loud laughter cutting through the subway's usual white noise. Jack's military training kicked in immediately. He'd seen this scenario before. The darting eyes, the nervous energy, the predatory stance. Something was wrong. The tall teenager with a shaved head radiated danger. His hand tucked into his jacket pocket spoke volumes. A weapon, Jack was certain. Around him, passengers grew tense. A young woman clutched her purse. An elderly man nervously calculated his escape routes. When the switchblade clicked open with a metallic snap, Jack's world sharpened into crystal clarity. This wasn't just troublemaking. This was a serious threat. "We want your wallets, your phones. Nobody moves. Nobody gets hurt," the lead teen announced, his voice a mix of bravado and menace. A businessman complied immediately, hands raised in surrender. But Jack saw something deeper. These weren't hardened criminals. They were scared kids playing at being tough, desperate, and dangerous. One teen noticed Jack's military jacket, throwing out a derogatory mix of Spanish and Portuguese slurs. Jack remained absolutely still, his heart racing. Years of training whispered, "Stay calm, assess the situation." But another voice spoke louder, the voice of a soldier who'd sworn to protect others. The teens were systematically moving through the subway car, terrorizing passengers. The businessman had already surrendered his wallet and phone. The young woman was next. Jack knew what was coming. And this time, He wouldn't just be a passive observer. The moment stretched like a rubber band about to snap. The teenage mugger threatened the young woman, blade glinting under the subway's harsh fluorescent lights. Tears pooled in her eyes, terror etched across her face. Jack's military training roared to life. He could hear his old drill sergeant's voice cutting through the chaos. "Don't be a bystander. Protect the vulnerable." "Sit down, old soldier," one teen sneered, "unless you want me to show you how washed up you really are." But Jack was beyond words. In a blur of practiced movements, he lunged. His hand caught the knife-wielding wrist, twisting with surgical precision. The switchblade clattered to the floor. Gasps erupted from surrounding passengers as Jack systematically neutralized the threat. One teen attempted to tackle him from behind. A mistake. Jack spun, deflecting the attack with a veteran's instinct. An elbow to the ribs sent the attacker reeling into the seats. Another rushed forward with wild punches. Jack dodged, his movements economic and precise. The subway car transformed into a controlled chaos. Passengers pressed themselves against windows, some filming, others shouting. Jack moved like a combat-trained dancer, each movement calculated, each strike purposeful. When the train screeched to a stop, 2 police officers burst in, guns drawn. "Everyone freeze!" they shouted. Jack immediately raised his hand, stepping back. The teens lay scattered, defeated, while passengers pointed and explained. The officers moved methodically, cuffing the would-be muggers despite their whining protests. The young woman Jack had protected watched him with a mix of gratitude and amazement. An unexpected hero had emerged from the crowd, a veteran who refused to let injustice happen. The scene unfolded like a carefully choreographed drama. A tall police officer with a thick Brooklyn accent surveyed the subway car, his presence commanding immediate attention. "Someone want to tell me what happened here?" The businessman, still adjusting his tie with slightly trembling hands, spoke first. "These punks were trying to rob us. That man," he pointed at Jack, "he stopped them." A chorus of murmurs rippled through the car. The young woman, still clutching her purse, her cheeks streaked with tears, added her testimony. "He saved me. I thought they were going to kill someone." Jack followed the officers onto the platform, his body still humming with adrenaline. He could taste blood, a split lip, a reminder of the brief, intense confrontation. Paramedics arrived, checking the teens and assessing potential injuries. The suspects glared at Jack, their embarrassment transforming into raw resentment. "You're still a loser," one muttered under his breath as the police led them away. Jack said nothing. He simply breathed, allowing the surge of tension to dissipate. The businessman approached, gratitude etched across his face. "Sir, I can't thank you enough. I froze. You stepped in when no one else would." Jack's response was characteristically modest. Anyone else could have done the same. "But they didn't," the man insisted. A plainclothes detective, Roberts, appeared, guiding Jack to a quiet corner of the platform. Their conversation was direct, professional. "Military background?" "Yes." "Overseas service?" "Confirmed." A brave action, but one that would require formal documentation. The aftermath of the subway incident brought an unexpected wave of gratitude. Passengers approached Jack, each with their own expression of thanks. Alicia, the young woman he'd protected, looked shaken but grateful. "They were yelling such horrible things," she said, her voice trembling. "Like losers, washed up, with no respect for anyone." Jack offered a wry, knowing smile. "I've been hearing that a lot lately," he responded. "Maybe those words don't mean what they think." Alicia's eyes softened. "Or maybe they just don't know anything about real courage." Her impulsive hug caught Jack off guard, a moment of human connection in the chaos. Other passengers offered handshakes, shoulder pats, small gestures of appreciation. Detective Roberts handed him a card, confirming his statement was complete. Walking away from the station, Jack felt a profound shift. The day had begun with humiliation, teenagers mocking him, workplace taunts, a sense of being invisible and insignificant. But now, everything had changed. In those few intense subway minutes, Jack had rediscovered something about himself. He wasn't broken. He wasn't useless. He was still capable of making a difference when it truly mattered. He found a quiet corner, Leaning against a lamppost, New York continued its relentless rhythm around him. Honking cabs, chattering crowds, a symphony of urban life. His knee ached, his lip was sore, but something inside him felt renewed. Those who had called him washed up, the street kids, Kyle from the warehouse, they'd never understood real courage. They'd never faced life or death moments. They were just searching for easy targets, projecting their own insecurities. Jack realized he couldn't control their perceptions, but he could control his actions, his dignity, his response to life's challenges. Deciding to walk instead of taking the bus, he let the night air clear his thoughts. Each step was a statement, quiet but powerful. The city streets whispered promises of potential headlines. Vet foils subway robbery. Jack could almost see the tabloid print. A grimace crossed his face, but beneath it, a glimmer of hope. Maybe this story might remind people that veterans aren't broken beyond repair, that some stories of resilience go untold. His apartment building welcomed him with familiar sounds, distant arguments about money, the creak of aging stairs. Jack moved with deliberate calm, slipping inside and locking the door. The silence enveloped him like an old friend. A single lamp illuminated his modest living space. Jack sank into the couch, catching his reflection in the dark TV screen. A ghost of a man who had been humiliated that morning, now transformed by an unexpected moment of courage. He pressed his hand against his split lip, feeling the day's events pulse through his body. Tomorrow could bring anything, more scorn, more underestimation, perhaps even unexpected kindness. The city was unpredictable, but Jack had rediscovered something fundamental about himself. He wasn't done. He wasn't finished. Tears welled up, not of weakness, but of profound relief. For the first time in years, Jack believed in his own worth, not because of external validation, but because of his own internal strength. The kids on the street, Kyle at the warehouse, the passengers on the train, none of their opinions mattered compared to his own self-understanding. A small smile played on his lips, defying the pain of his split lip. Tomorrow would come. Kyle might have heard about the subway incident, or he might not. But Jack wouldn't hide anymore. As darkness settled around him, the city's low hum of traffic continued its endless song. Jack would rest tonight knowing he had faced both humiliation and fear. And in doing so, he had stood taller than ever before. Night descends upon the city, its lights casting shadows of untold stories. Silent steps echo on broken streets where memories drift like whispers, carrying the weight of unspoken sacrifices. Heroes move among us, disguised in ordinary moments. Their bravery isn't found in loud proclamations, but in quiet, profound choices. They are the patriots of the shadows, illuminating paths others cannot see. In the darkest corners of human experience, they rise, brothers and sisters bound by something deeper than blood, a love forged in shared understanding, built to withstand the coldest of worlds. Their strength becomes a beacon, their hearts pure and resilient. Every tear shed, every moment of silent struggle builds the roads we walk upon. Their experiences are the foundation of our collective journey, a timeless melody of honor and duty. They stand tall, these silent guardians, not seeking recognition, but driven by an internal compass of compassion and courage. Their sacrifices shine not in medals, but in the quiet moments when they choose to protect, to stand up, to make a difference. Through the chaos of life, they remain unbroken. Their eyes reflect not just memories of battles past, but hope for a world made better by their unwavering spirit. They are the unsung heroes, lighting the way for those who follow. In the silence between heartbeats, their song plays on, a testament to human resilience, to the profound dignity of those who serve, to the unbreakable human spirit that rises above fear, above pain, above division. In the quiet moments between darkness and dawn, heroes are born, not in grand stadiums or battlefield monuments, but in the ordinary spaces of everyday life, subway cars, warehouse floors, city streets. Jack Turner's story isn't just about one man, it's about every person who's ever been told they're not enough. Every veteran who struggled to find their place, every individual who's been labeled, dismissed, or forgotten. We live in a world that's quick to judge, quick to categorize, quick to throw away, but true strength, it isn't about perfection. It's about rising. Rising when you're tired, rising when you're hurt, rising when everyone expects you to stay down. That day on the subway wasn't just about stopping a robbery. It was about reclaiming dignity, about proving that our worth isn't determined by others' perceptions, but by our own choices, by the moments we decide to stand up, to protect, to make a difference. Jack didn't set out to be a hero. He simply refused to be a bystander. And in that refusal, he discovered something powerful. That courage isn't a medal or a title. It's a daily decision. To every viewer watching, your story isn't over. Your potential isn't defined by your past struggles or current challenges. You are more than the labels others put on you. You are the author of your own journey. Some final words of wisdom. Be kind, be brave, stand up when others won't. Your moment of impact might come when you least expect it. If this story touched you, remember, heroes walk among us. Sometimes they're wearing a worn military jacket. Sometimes they look just like you.